Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Riboni, or you can call me Adelaide. Whichever one you prefer, it's fine. Um, I don't know what this channel is going to be about, but it's going to be led by my Lord and Savior. So bear with me, guys, as I touch on topics that are going to be faith based, and some will be based on I actually think it's going to be based on the experiences that I have went through in the past, and some that I will go through, and I will speak on them from the perspective of Christianity. Today I'm going to talk about my HIV story. This is a story that I wrestled with a lot about for a long time. It had me stuck in disobedience and has been the source of turmoil for me mentally and emotionally, because I've found it hard to um, connect with the Lord without having done this obedience step, which was to speak on this publicly. So, I, okay, where am I gonna start? Let's start with how I found out that I had HIV and when I found out. I found out I had HIV in 2020, end of 2020, towards the end of 2020 actually. And how I found out was um I had COVID at the time, and me being me, I thought, I'm not gonna go see a doctor about this. I can get through it by myself. And I kept taking those, homemade remedies of how to beat the flu and all those things. And a week passed and I was still bedridden. And then the second week, I was still in excruciating pain. My body was so heavy that I hardly left my room. I could hardly even get out of bed. So the second week, my mother, who at the time I was talking to over the phone because I was not living at home at the time, I told her what was going on, and she said, I think you should go to the clinic. And me being me, I said, I don't think so. I think I can take at least a few days more and see how it goes. And then days later, I realized that, yeah, what I had was serious. So I went to the clinic, and when I got there, at the time, I think it was protocol for them to actually test HIV first before they tested COVID. But the person who tested me for COVID did not ask me if I had tested for HIV first. So they tested me first for COVID, and then afterwards, um, another nurse came to me and said, I think you should go and test for HIV as well. And I did that, and cool. With the nurse, I think, yeah, the test came back negative. Okay, cool. And then I leave. So I think I had filled in a form at the time, because it's protocol to fill in a form before you get tested. And then I left after finding out the test was negative. I left. And then when I was all the way at home, I get a call from the clinic again. The lady who had tested me said she double checked the the test that we had done. Something just told her to double check the test, and she realized that it went from negative to positive after a while. And she said, can you please come back and let's try and test you again and see why it went negative to positive again. And then at the time I was in shock. Mind you, I'm like, negative, positive? How does that even happen? I'm scared at the time. I'm scared. But at the same time, I was really in a dark place. So in my mind, I'm like, you know what? If this happens, it's probably for good cause, because I've had suicidal ideations for a while, and I was like, I'm ready to be out of here anyway. So whatever happens, it's whatever. But another part of me was like, God, please do not allow this to happen. And then I leave, I go back to the clinic, and then this was the same day. I go back to the clinic, and then I get tested again. And then they find out that I am actually HIV positive. And then they tell me about medications and all that. And I immediately took the medication because I couldn't even think clearly. So I was like, you know what? While I take my time to think, it wouldn't kill me to be on the medication anyway. And as I'm going through the process, I come across this nurse. That's the first nurse who is supposed to draw my blood and do all those things, take my blood pressure and all those things. And that person put a lot of fear in me in that moment. Like, that's when it actually crippled me, because at first I was just casual with it. I was like, it's whatever. But when I got to that guy was like, you're HIV positive. You've ruined your future. This is the end for you. I don't think you should have done what you've done. Now you've ruined your life. At 25 years old, you shouldn't have done this, those kind of things. And I just looked at him and I had nothing to say, but fear crept in, and I couldn't even control my thoughts from that moment, because my thoughts were running wild. And that's when the suicidal ideations left, and all that was left was just fear. Fear. What if I drop down and die? Those kind of things. Like, I didn't actually understand why my life was over, but I actually thought that my life was over. Cool, then I left the clinic after they drew blood, and they said I was going to come back after a few days to check the results. And yeah, and at the time I was living alone, so I went home. No, I passed by a friend's place and then I had a chat with him for a while, but at that time it was not okay. So it's just zoning out a lot of times when we were having conversation. So eventually I left and I went to my place. When I got to my place, I do not remember properly, but I think I did. I cry? I don't think I cried. I don't think I cried. Like, all I had was fear, guys. All I had was fear. And fear that, what, asking myself a lot of questions again, because I was like, I tested every 3 months. I tested every 3 months, though. So I had tested 3 months earlier, or less than 3 months earlier. And I was asking myself, what happened? Like, where could I have gotten this? And also realizing that I was also engaging in very, very, how could I put it? I was also problematic at the time. As hard as it may be for me to say it, but I had no business. I mean, absolutely no business dating 3 people in 1 year, and you know, not even considering their statuses. So throughout the course of that 1 year, I had been with 3 people, and all those 3 people I had never went to the clinic with before we had sexual intercourse. So it was more of, I could be the problem. Like, I had no business being angry at any of those partners because the problem could have been me. As I was asking myself those questions, trying to justify the fact that I had tested, and also saying to myself, you have tested, but the test could come back negative and only show positive later in the months. So you can't actually be sure that it's not you who had it before you met the other person. So I had to I had to be honest with myself, and the honesty was painful. Was painful because it meant that I put myself in that situation, and it meant that I could have been the one who put others in danger. As much as I can sit here and say those guys that I was dating were good for nothing or were doing other things that I did not know, for sure, when I dated each and every one of them, I was faithful to each one. But then I couldn't be sure that it was them, because I had also been neglectful of the fact that I had not taken enough time in between those relationships. I just jumped from one relationship to another. And that could have somewhat been a problem for me. Anyway, yeah, I had those 1,000 million thoughts. And the guy I was dating at the time, him and I were just, I don't know how to explain the relationship, but it was not casual, but it was not said that, what we have is not actually serious. Like, the guy would come whenever he wants and he would leave whenever he wants, and I did not have any unction to question him about his whereabouts and what our relationship is actually about. I could see that this is not that serious for him, you know, and I was okay with that. I was okay with that. So when these news came, it became hard for me to actually communicate with him that, what, this is what has happened to me, and I don't know if it's you or if it's me. And truth be told, mm, I believe that it was him, but confrontation was not my thing at the time, so I didn't confront him about it. And another thing was, I was scared of telling my friends, I was scared of telling my family, you know, and I was just scared. Like I said, like, there was a lot of fear in me at the time. It was a lot of fear on the driver's seat. And uh, how long did it take for me to tell people? It took a while. It took a long time for me to tell anyone anything. And I sat with it for a long time, probably like two years. Yeah, I sat for a year, actually, a year and a few months. I sat with it for that long, and a time came when my relationship with the Lord was so serious that I could discern his voice. And there came a time where he told me that I had to tell my mother. And even then, I wrestled with the Lord. I was like, I'm not going to tell my mother. Like, I thought about a lot of things that could go wrong with me telling my mother. I was like, she's going to be disappointed. She's going to be hurt. She's going to be scared. Like, it was a lot of things. Just, how fear is. Like, you have a lot of excuses for not doing a thing. So, months and months and months and months, the Lord was like, tell your mother, tell your mother, tell your mother, tell your mother. And I was like, Lord, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that. And then after a while, I actually mustered up the courage to tell her. And I told her that this is what's happening. And it was hard for her to hear that I had went through that. And I can't speak for how she felt, because my mother is one of those people that she would she doesn't really show emotions. I could tell that she was sad, but I don't know if she was disappointed or, I don't know. She didn't express anything, like, you know, yeah, but she just cried. And then after a while, she just told me some words that were encouraging, saying that she would support me. I should tell her if I need anything. And then having to tell my friends, after that, the Lord was like, now you're going to tell your friend so and so. I can't mention her name because I did not ask for permission to talk about her. And even then, I had reservations again. I was like, Lord, I can't tell her. We're not even that close anymore. Our relationship is not like before. So I can't tell that friend about my intimate problems that I don't think she needs to be hearing about. And the Lord was like, you're gonna do it. And you know how when God tells you to do a thing, it's like I said what I said. You can come back a few months later and ask again and be like, Lord, did you really? I said what I said. It's one of those things. So I I knew I had to do what he had told me to do because I had no choice. And I also did that, and I told my friend, and she was supportive as well. But rekindling the relationship was hard because actually, after I had found out the news, it became hard for me to be close with people because I felt like I would be fake to them if I'm around people and I can't really share the news of, I mean, I couldn't really share such news with them because I'm someone who cannot keep a secret. I cannot keep a secret. So I had to distance myself knowing that I couldn't share that with them. So even after that, like having to trying to rekindle a relationship with that friend became hard as well because there were other issues that were involved surrounding the the distance between us. And to be honest, I was not even looking to rekindle the relationship, to be honest, because I was going through a lot even then. I was coming out, but I was still going through it. And me going through it meant that for me that I couldn't help others bear their own problems. And even issues surrounding relationships became hard for me to even want to put myself there because I thought, man, I can't deal with people because relationships are hard work. Believe it or not, relationships are hard work. So I did not have the energy for that. And yeah, that's one of the things I regret not telling the Lord about. But the Lord was like, you should rekindle this relationship. And I didn't. Another disobedient step that I did not do. Anyway, another one is how I dealt with it for the whole time until telling everyone. It was hard. It was hard living amongst people and they don't know what's going on with you. One day you wake up, you're depressed. The next day you're happy. The other day you don't want to get up. And you can't really lie and say, I'm okay, because it was written all over my face, all over my body that I was not okay. Like anyone who could just pass by me could see that this girl is not okay. So, for a long time, I just kept to myself. I I was just in seclusion and my always in my room listening to music alone and just reading my Bible. Just reading my Bible and listening to music is all I did. And I would have a lot of conversations with the Lord. And he at that time he revealed a lot about me. He revealed a lot about me. Healed me from some things, but some things I couldn't disclose. I couldn't bring to the surface because I was not ready to deal with them. Um, and that's how it went for a long time. And I kept having these health issues, kept going back to the clinic, and I was complaining to the Lord, like, Lord, what is happening? And He would say to me, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. What's wrong with you is your secrets. Your secrets are your problems. There's nothing wrong with you health wise. But the only thing that is wrong with you is your secrets. And because I didn't want to tell anyone at the time, I was not ready. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. So, yeah, up until the time I told people I was not okay, and then after I told everyone, that's when the relief came for me. I started to gain weight, to gain my weight back. I started to clear, my face started to clear, I started to lighten up a bit, and I started to wake up more, get up more. I get out of bed more. And I even sought counseling afterwards. I sought counseling and it has helped me quite a lot as well. And I have formed other relationships as well. I tried dating as well and friendships. The only friendships I have are none, actually. Let me just be honest. I haven't formed any friendships. I still have wounds from forming friendships. So, friendships, ever since I haven't had any friends. I do go to church and see people at church. My sisters and brothers in Christ are my friends for now, but I don't really speak to them like that. So I can't really say they're my friends. They're just my sisters and brothers in Christ. And what else? Uh, how am I coping with it right now? How am I coping with it right now? Right now, I'm not. I am. I think this thing, like, it takes. I don't know. It takes time. It takes time. I'm not there yet. I can't say I'm there yet and say, I've actually forgotten about it. And look at the fact that it's even hard for me to just call it by name. It's hard to for me to just say I'm HIV positive. It's just one of those things where, like, I still cringe at the thought of it. I'm still sad sometimes when I think about it. And the fact that now I have to be at the clinic now and then is just taking a mental strain on me. It's a mental strain and an emotional one because I don't really like being around people like that. And having to answer questions and be questioned all the time when you have a health issue that you feel you have is also not easy. So it's one of those things. And another thing is that I did not like medications before I was on this medication. So it became hard for me to even be consistent with my medication. Yeah. Um that's how much I I that's all I can think of right now for this video. I will be speaking on other things that I've experienced throughout this journey and my journey with the Lord. And I think the next video of mine will be my testimony of the things the Lord has done, or the things the Lord has purged out of me on this journey. Yeah.